Hi there, and welcome to Philosophy 125, Philosophy of Science. My name is Randy Mays. I'm the instructor and designer of this course. And this is a short orientation video, by which I mean about 20 minutes or so, just designed to help you get acquainted with the course, but also to help you determine really early whether this course is for you. And to that end, I just want to say a couple of things right away. These are not meant to discourage people who are sincerely interested in this course, but to give a heads up to people who are enrolled in it for more pragmatic reasons. So the first thing to understand about this course is that it is not an easy course. This course requires a great deal of work. You are going to be working constantly on the material. It's not terribly difficult to understand, but there's quite a lot of it, and it is simply not the kind of course that you just want to add to your schedule because you need to satisfy a GE requirement, for example. The second thing to understand about this course, beyond it being online, which you already know, is that it's a self-paced course. Now, it's not completely self-paced. You'll see that there are certain conditions on this. However, you have a lot of latitude to decide when you study and how you study and when you take tests for this course. Now, that can sound like a wonderful thing, but in fact, it's a horrible, horrible trap for people who are not highly disciplined and who are not able to set their own schedule. So you should think about this very, very carefully. Are you a highly self-disciplined, self-actuating, self-motivated person? Answer this question very, very honestly, and if the answer is yes, then stay here. But if the answer is no, it would really be better for you to find a different course. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is the Blackboard page. This is probably how you entered the course when you saw it show up in Blackboard or in SAC-CT. Now, what you'll see on top is this welcome but don't start here message, which tells you to go to my website. So that's what we're going to do. The website is not here, but here. And this is me on a pretty good day, actually. Philosophy 125 is your course, and as with all my courses, there are essentially 3 points of entry. The first is a What's Up link, which is a blog telling you what's going on, information that you need to know about unusual things that might come up, and I'll also just put sort of gentle reminders about where you ought to be in your progress in the course. There's a syllabus, which we'll look at momentarily, and also a schedule page, which is just distinct from the syllabus. So the What's Up page just looks like this. There's already a post, which is really also itself an orientation post. We'll come back to the What's Up page before we leave. The syllabus is here, and I'm not going to spend a great deal of time talking about the syllabus because you do need to read it very carefully in order to pass, believe it or not, a syllabus test. But I'll just mention some important features here again that would just help you to decide whether this course is going to remain interesting to you and whether you want to hang in here for the rest of the video. So if we scroll down to the assignments, there are basically 2 assignments that count, types of assignments that count toward your grade. One is the test, which is worth the bulk of your grade, 200 points, and another is a written journal, which counts 30 points. Now, if you're good at math, you may already be wondering whether or not you really need to do the journal to pass this course. The answer is that you don't. Now, the problem here is this. If you're the sort of person who says, oh, good, I just won't do the journal, I don't like to write anyway, etc., that is really some evidence that you're going to struggle in the course, because the people who are going to do best in this course are the people who are trying to get an A or a B, and will see that in order to achieve that goal, they almost certainly have to do the journal. The people who are thinking maybe they can get by without doing the journal are people who are looking to put in the minimum amount of effort, and so they are also going to do poorly on the tests, and they won't have the journal helping them out to get those points that they need to get a passing grade. So you're going to want to think long and hard before you decide not to do the journal. The other thing I'll point out here really briefly is that the grading is it's a very simple grading system, but a little bit unconventional. So to get an A in the course, you'll need to accumulate at least 220 points. To get an A minus, 200. B plus is 180, etc. The only thing is that these numbers don't reflect the usual 90%, 80%, 70% distribution. So if you want to really get a realistic understanding of what these grades means in terms of your usual calculation, in terms of percent, you can go ahead and whip out your calculator and do that. Now, if you elect to do the journal, as I hope you do, you'll scroll down and see that the conditions for writing the journal are described, as well as an extensive grading rubric. The basic thing you want to understand here is that you need to be comfortable using Google Docs. So you're going to need a Gmail, which is an email account with Google, or an account you've registered with Google. And in order to receive your journal, you're going to go to a journal sign-up sheet. When you read the first entry in the blog, you'll see a link to that sign-up sheet, and that will allow me during the first week to share a Google Doc with you, which is pre-formatted. I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like this, and these are just instructions for the journal. But it comes with a table of contents. These dates aren't quite right. They're going to be being changed. They'll be different when you receive yours. And each module comes with some journal questions, which you will answer after having engaged the material right next to the bullets I've provided. So you're going to want to be sure that you don't mess with the format of this journal. I need it to all be in the format because we have many, many people in this class, and if we have a lot of variation in format, it makes me cranky when I'm reading what you've written. When you read the syllabus, you'll see how grading works on this. I do visit your journal, I give you feedback, but I don't actually assign a grade to your journal until the end of the semester. So you'll know how you're doing generally, and you're always welcome to ask me if you feel like you're getting unsatisfactory feedback, how you're doing. Another thing I really want to emphasize here, though it's emphasized in the syllabus as well, is that when I do make comments, they'll look like this on the side. I'll just say something over here. And it's going to be important for you never, ever to delete or resolve these comments. I need these comments here as a way of tracking what it is that I've said in your journal. If you remove them, then I won't remember what I've done. perfectly okay, though, to reply to my comments. It's not required, but if you need me to clarify what I've said further, replying to the comment is a good way to do that. Okay, now that's all I want to tell you about the syllabus here. Let's go back to the web page and talk about the schedule and how to interpret it. So this is the schedule for the course. This is where everything really happens. So I've repeated some, because very often, or at least for some of you, you'll find yourself going directly to the schedule page. So I've put the What's Up link and the course syllabus link here as well. There's also a link for text study questions. It's not active at the moment, but it will be shortly. And this is a set of study questions that are designed to help you test your comprehension on the text worldviews for this course. So after reading any given chapter, you're going to want to visit the text study questions and see if you're capable of answering them all. That's a very good indicator as to whether or not you're ready to start taking quizzes. But in addition to reading the text, what you'll be doing is listening to me talk about the material. What we have here is an index of all the chapters, and in this column, which says online lectures, you're going to find all my lectures covering the chapters. So what happens in each of these lectures is that I review the material that's presented by the author, but I also in each lecture present other material which you'll need to know as well. So skipping the lecture is not a good idea. Now, there are also lecture slides, which are the PowerPoints that I use for the lectures. Some of you will find these very helpful. Some of you who just get tired of listening to me may want to use the lecture slides predominantly. I tend to read everything that's on the lectures, so looking at the slides, you won't actually miss any information, but you may miss important emphases if all you do is look at the slides rather than listen to the lectures themselves. Another thing I'd like to say about these lectures right now is that in most of them there's a little preamble that is just kind of me being frankly a little bit silly, and some of you will find this entertaining and a nice way to start, and others will find it irritating and idiotic. So you're absolutely free to skip the little preamble of any of these lectures and just move straight into the material. So if you look at the very beginning here, it says intro, and there and I haven't talked about this supplement column yet, but you'll see that there are two lectures, A and B, that are introductory lectures. So these actually don't correspond to text material, but I'm talking to you about the nature of philosophy and the nature of the philosophy of science. You will be tested on it, so you do want to engage these lectures. Then we get into the material from the text, and I have a lecture that's indexed to every single chapter of the text. Now, right now, we're actually looking at a version of this schedule that isn't completely done. So specifically, these advised quiz completion dates are all wrong, and I'll be changing them very soon. But what you'll see on the far right are the due dates for both the tests, the online tests, which we'll get to in a moment when we go back to Blackboard, and the journals. Now, the important thing to understand, which again is delineated very clearly in the syllabus, is that some of these tests have mandatory due dates and others do not. So if you look at this column, module test completion dates, the red ones are mandatory. So module 1 and the syllabus test has a mandatory due date. If you don't finish the syllabus test by this date, you actually will be administratively dropped from the class for non-attendance. The module 1 has a hard due date because I want you to sort of wake up and realize that you're in the class and to get done with it. After module 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can do at your own pace. So these are advised due dates. But module 5 has a hard due date. And the reason for that is because I don't want people to get too far behind in their work. Now, you can't actually do module 5 until you've passed modules 2, 3, and 4. So this hard due date on module 5 is a way of incentivizing you to make sure that you stay on top of things. If you wait to the first week of October to start doing module 2, you'll find that your life has just become a living hell, because you are not only trying to race through the material, but you're not capable of just sort of skipping to module 5, taking the test, and going back and doing 2, 3, and 4 at your own rate. Now, the same thing applies to the later modules. Module 6, 7, 8, and 9 now you get to do at your own rate, but module 10, understandably, because it's the end of the semester, has a hard due date. Now, the journals, on the other hand, have all hard due dates. Now, you'll read the syllabus and find out what the penalties associated with lateness are and how you deal with that. But if you're going to be doing the journal, you're going to have to stay on a strict schedule. Now, what are the journals about? Generally speaking, the questions that I ask you to answer in the journals are related to these supplements. Now, all of these supplements are online, and they are either interviews or YouTube videos that are relating in some way to the chapter material. But you need to actually engage all of the supplements in order to provide intelligent, well thought out, well informed answers to the module questions. And you are graded on whether or not your answers do reflect engagement or understanding of those supplements. Okay, so that's it for how the website administers the course content. So now let's just finish up by popping back to the Blackboard environment. So what you'll see, what you're looking at here is the student view. I see something quite different, and all you see right now is a syllabus test. Like I said, you have to pass this syllabus test in order to go any further. You have to pass it with at least a 90%. If you find that this is difficult for you, as the text here says, that's a really strong indication that this course is something that you're not quite prepared for. This is a very straightforward test that you cannot pass without reading the syllabus very carefully. But if you have any inclination to try to pass it without reading it carefully, that's a good information for you to pay attention to about your readiness for the course. Okay, so when I go back into what I see, what you'll see is that there's 10 folders, each of which has all the material for one module. When you pass the syllabus test, you'll immediately see, on returning to this page, the Module 1 quizzes and tests folder. When you pass the Module 1 test, then the Module 2 test comes up, etc. So if we look inside the Module 1 quizzes and tests folder, what you'll see is a bunch of quizzes. These are quizzes associated with each chapter lecture pair. So there's the chapter 1 quiz, the chapter 2 quiz, the chapter 3 quiz, the introductory lectures quiz. This covers both the material in the text and in the lectures. Now, these quizzes are worth 0 points. You get absolutely no credit for taking the quiz. The only thing you get credit for is taking the module tests. And if you're not thinking straight, you might think, well, what's the point of that? I'll just go straight to the test. The chapter quizzes are things that you can take over and over and over again, and you should not go on to the next quiz until you're getting pretty close to 100% on these quizzes. You're always going to do a little more poorly on the module tests than you do on the quizzes. So if you're taking a module test and only scoring 60 or 70% on the quizzes, you're probably actually going to fail the test. Now, the test itself has questions that are very similar to the quizzes, though not identical. If you are really familiar with the material and have done well on the quizzes, generally speaking, you'll find that you have plenty of time on the module test and that you will be able to do relatively well. The time allotted for these tests, which is typically around 40 minutes, is enough time if you know the material, but it's not enough time for you to be looking things up in the book. Now, I'll caution you that when you engage these quizzes, I said that you can take them as many times as you want, but again, if you are inclined to just continually repeat the quizzes until you start doing better, rather than use the quiz and the feedback on the quiz, you'll get feedback on incorrect answers to try to figure out what you did wrong, then again, you're going to find this to be very frustrating. So you definitely want to do the latter. Take the quiz after you've studied the material very carefully and use the feedback on it in order to go back to the material, revisit it, find out what the correct answers to those questions are, retake the quiz, and continue to do that until you are confident that you understand all the material. After that, take the module one, take the module test. You get one shot and one shot only at the module test, subject to some of the qualifications that you'll find in the syllabus. Okay, so I think that's a sufficient introduction to the course and the course material. Please feel free to email me anytime. Contact me with any questions you have as often as you like. If I don't respond to you in a timely manner, just ask again. Do it politely. You'll see in the syllabus that I actually have a very strong advice for how to communicate with me or any instructor that you happen to be taking a course from. All right, take care and have a wonderful semester.